Proudly sponsored by Founders Coffee, the most tasty, delectable coffee here in Las Vegas, right across the road from IKEA. Drop your WHH promo code, you get 10% off your order. They got a brand new shop right on St. Rose. How could we forget Jay Baller's Beard Balm, the most essential beard balm in the game for when your beard needs to be money. The Aussie Project, Australian meat pies, sausage rolls, chicken. We're going to deliver them to your front door. And of course, in LA and Las Vegas, free delivery. All the descriptions are going to be right at the bottom of the podcast. And how could we forget one of our proud sponsors, the Garrison and Elliott Co., the #1 beard and haircuts in the business. Check this out. Now you know why my hair's looking so slick, S-L-I-C-K. And of course, today's episode is proudly fueled by...
This is the current Irish whiskey belt holder. This is the Rich and Smooth Challenger. Ding, ding. Proper number 12 Irish whiskey. One for all.
What's the story, guys? Welcome to the podcast. What happens here? This is Marcus Deegan. I'm your host, shooting direct from Sin City, right here in Las Vegas. We have got another epic podcast for you today. Some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment, and this guy fits the bill straight away. Let me tell you about this man. He is the CEO of one of the biggest sports and entertainment agencies in the world. We're going to give you a bit of a display on some of his fighters. Don't take it from me. Check this out. Ladies and gentlemen, listening and watching around the world, would you welcome to the podcast, Jason House. What's up, brother?
How's it going, guys?
Thanks, man. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
You're looking very slick. What's going on? Where'd you get that haircut?
Come on, you know Elliot took care of me.
Is he here? Oh, we want to introduce Elliot's in the building. Everyone say hello to my barber and my good friend, Mr. Elliot Chester. What's up, my man?
Hello.
Welcome to the show, bro. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it. And I want to welcome to back again my #1 Peroni Jabroni. Give it up for Matt. What's up, baby?
What's going on out there, guys? How y'all doing?
Thank you very much for coming in today.
No problem.
It's our second last show of the year, and then it's
Yes.
2021.
Woo!
And we're happy about that, right?
What a year.
I know, what a year it's been. Actually, you know what? When people say it's been a real messed up year, obviously it has for a lot of people, but it's actually been a really good year for me. It's been a year where I've actually prevailed. Have you prevailed this year?
I would have to say so. I think all the real ones prevailed.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is the one where you either, you either use it as an excuse and you slacked off
Yeah.
and you just took it off,
Yeah.
or the real one stepped up and made it happen.
And I suppose being in one of the, running some of the biggest sports names in the world, the UFC, mixed martial arts is such a huge sport. How much did the pandemic affect your business and the way that things are running?
I mean, thanks to Uncle Dana, I think our business had the best year ever. So he released that promo yesterday on Instagram and all the social media accounts, and I was all fired up because it's crazy to think that was only, 6-7 months ago.
Yeah.
The events got, canceled for a couple weeks, and Dana was able to get it done and get us back on track.
So, what do you think the biggest difference is about doing it with crowds and without crowds? Do you prefer it with the crowd, obviously, but what's the huge difference with that?
I think the ability to hear the corner, the ability to hear even the commentating during the fight, I definitely think that has an effect when you're in the cage. I think, when you're able to hear the other opposing team's corner as well, it's definitely adding a different layer to the fight.
I never actually thought about that. So that the guys and yourself and the fighters can actually hear the boys commentating.
Yeah.
That's probably never been done before, right?
Yeah. If you look at it in Florida when Ricky Simone fought, like they were saying what a big-sized bantamweight he was, and then he kind of went like this, and he started flexing in the cage because he had heard Daniel Cormier make a comment about it. Yeah. So it was pretty cool that you can actually hear those things while you're fighting.
Do you think that hypes them up, the fighters?
I definitely think it does.
Yeah.
I definitely think it does.
Yeah.
You almost have to use more code right? Because now they hear you. So now whoever's got the best codes out of everybody is going to do better,
Yeah.
You can't just, maybe throw a 2 and then it's all of a sudden a 4 or something. So little things like that.
They were cornering one fight, and they're like, he's tired. I'm thinking, like, no, we're not. We're not tired.
I'm not tired.
We're going to keep going.
I remember in the Contender Series, one of them started listening to the actual announcer, the advice they were given, and he's like, oh, he's listening to me. I can't remember who it was exactly, but it was pretty funny.
Yeah, and the Contender Series was huge. I mean, you guys had a lot of fighters in that this year.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Man, the Contender Series is always a great experience for us. I think just because it validates our ability to develop prospects, and I think it's such a great show, right? I mean, you really know that, hey, if I perform tonight, my fate is sealed. I'm gonna get a UFC contract.
Legit.
And so I always feel like I'm more nervous for those fights than I am like some normal UFC fights.
Right.
Like just the energy in the room when there was crowds, you're like, oh man, like there'd be like this tension in the air. Like no one was really talking before the fights. You'd be just sitting back waiting for the show to start. Like, oh man, it's about to go down.
Yeah, there's a lot of nerves that go along with this sport, right? Do you think that as you said, you get a little bit more nervous watching the Contender Series? Is that because the guys that are already in the UFC are established, and you want these young guys to make their dream? Do you feel like a father figure to these guys?
You definitely do. I feel like the Contender Series, they're climbing that first mountaintop. I think that's what is occurring there, that they're getting their opportunity to showcase their skills in front of Dana, Sean, and Mick. The UFC, there's always nerves. There's always, the pre-fight butterflies and stuff. But I think for that moment, it's like, man, they've been fighting on the regional scene for not very much money. They've been really, paying the iron price in the gym, and now is their chance to really shine in front of them. Yeah. And they're fighting another prospect, right? And that's where it's at. Like you're fighting someone that's your equal.
Yeah, the tough guy. Each of the tough guys from their towns, like the toughest dudes, fight each other, and there's so much pressure. Yeah, because if you win, doesn't mean you get picked. Yeah. So you really have to go out there, and they used to just give out one contract. Now Dana was he was very generous this year, handing out 3, 5 in some episodes. Yes. But man, the pressure, especially when the fans were there, they were their families. Yes. And how much pressure is that, right? Like getting beat up in front of your mom like that. I mean, that'll fire someone up. I'm not getting beat up in front of my mom. I'll tell you that right now.
His mom beats him up. That's the whole thing.
Hey.
3 or 4 times a week. She's really good at wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Jason, how do you separate your emotional connection with your fighters? How do you keep it business without becoming friends?
Man, I always feel like when people say it's not personal, it's business, I think that's complete crap. I think it's completely personal. I think you only want to mess around with your friends. You only want to do business with the people you love and care for. So I completely love my clients to death. As regards to doing our job, like heading into a fight night, I like to think of every possible scenario before the fight in the hotel room. That way, after the fight, when emotions are high, I'm able to stay rational and say, hey, if we won, this is who we want to call out. This is the next play for us. If we lost, this is the next road that we need to take. Right. So I try to always evaluate the situations before they occur, before the fight, and that allows me to stay present in the moment. But I truly believe you should love the crap out of your clients. I think you should be there for them every step of the way. Yeah. I just truly believe that this is an emotional sport. Yeah. You're going to ride this roller coaster. And I feel like when it doesn't hurt you, that's your time to walk away. I feel like when you're not nervous and if it doesn't affect you, if it doesn't bring me to tears, it's time for me to leave.
Damn.
Yeah. And someone on the outside, you know what I mean? Like, I come in to take care of Jason's guys fight week, but to watch the connection that he has with his guys, and I've been very fortunate. I've had an opportunity to take care of a lot of fighters through the year. Yeah. And I've worked with other guys who have had other managers. You know what I mean? I've never seen anything like what Jason has with his guys. Like it's really unique, and I think it's awesome. And you see the camaraderie. I've been over to Jason's house, and there's 5, 6, 7, different fighters. Some of these dudes are fighting in the same weight class, and everyone's there pulling together like a team. Like it's really cool.
Do you think that has an effect on the success when you have such a personal relationship with your clients? As you would probably know as well, Elliot, it's obviously a completely different industry, but you're a people person and you're talking to people every day, different people. Do you believe that having that personal relationship makes things better?
I mean, I think that's a part of it, right? Because it's a relationship.
But what do they say? It's, never mix business and pleasure together. So that I don't get that.
I mean, I think in some aspects, I get that, you know what I mean? But I think, fighting is a very personal thing, right? You got 2 guys in an octagon, in a cage, beating the shit out of each other. You know what I mean? Like you don't get too much more personal than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Unless you're getting a colonoscopy, and then that. I mean, that's a little. And I've got one book. I've got one book next week, by the way. So maybe we'll bring the cameras in and get some footage of that. Probably not, but maybe I'll
Can't show that on YouTube.
Yeah, you can. It's medical.
Can you?
Yeah, you can. Anyway, sorry about that.
Yeah, your house is getting notoriously popular from the embedded and things like that. How many fighters were actually at your house that weekend Brandon fought, or is it always like that? Like
it's always like that. I just think with the pandemic and not being able to gather to watch our clients and cheer on our clients, it just seems that the safest bet is to have them at our house.
Yeah,
gotcha.
And how's the beautiful wife feel about that? You love them as well?
Yeah.
I feel like our house feels empty right now. Everyone's gone.
Yeah, the house feels empty now that everyone's gone. And your husband was telling me that you have a favorite. Who's your favorite? Do you have a favorite fighter? He was telling me. Can we talk about that?
So before we rep Brandon, Brandon Moreno was always her favorite fighter. She'd always be cheering for him. Like I used to be like, why we don't work with him? She's like, I just love him, who he is. And then Chito Vera kind of made that connection for us, and when we managed him, I felt like she was like so excited.
Pumped,
She's like, oh, we're gonna finally work with Brandon Moreno. But I mean, I'm really blessed. Our guys really support each other. I mean, Alex Perez was texting me during Brandon Moreno's fight.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Like cheering for him, pushing for him, and man, Alex had just fought for the title.
Yeah.
Talk about
What if he would have won?
Yeah, talk about a client that's cheering on his manager for the greater good of his manager. Like that is amazing to me. Like he was texting me, I was almost in tears in the corner over that. I was like, man, I'm really blessed to work with a good group of people. You know, and Assassin Baby, he's an amazing guy.
Jason, you're a good guy. I can see you getting emotional right now.
Yeah.
I can see. That just means, like, you know, I haven't. Every single person that I've spoke to about you has had 10 out of 10 comments to say. So I really do appreciate that. Speaking of Brandon, man, what a weekend last weekend. Can you play that clip and we'll just talk about it over the top? So he came in and obviously it was a draw. Me and Matt, we sat and watched it together. I thought it was going to go to him, considering there was, what I counted, 4 eye pokes, 1 nut shot.
Right.
The nut shot was can we?
That was the timeout, the call time.
We got it up here, so
especially because the 5th was so close, the 3rd was so close, and the point. I actually thought he had it.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him because I'm such a fan of the sport. I know how these guys judge these fights, and I'm like, listen, if they gave Figueiredo the 3rd. And they gave him the 5th. We're hitting a draw right now. And he's like, don't say that, don't say that. I'm like, I'm telling you that I know how they work.
And I was like saying, don't say that. You're going to put it out there. But look, it was.
I thought he did it for sure. Like
I thought so too.
It was a great fight all round. We talked about Figueiredo's punches, and he said, he punched hard, but they weren't as hard as what everyone thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
And one thing that I really appreciated what he said, he goes, from that fight, I know that I can beat him now. I know what's going to happen in the next fight. So is the hype train gone, do you think? Because there was a bit of a hype train with Figueiredo, was there?
I mean, I definitely think that Brandon showed that he's human.
Yeah, I think the hype train for Figueiredo definitely got derailed a bit. It's definitely under construction after that.
Yeah.
Because he went in there just dominating, and then he had the excuse of he was sick before. And I love Moreno's response. He was like, welcome to the fight game, buddy.
Right.
We've all fought sick.
It's
all
funny.
had a hurt toe.
It's funny seeing this right now. He's like smashing this guy, and then last week he was like so excited about getting Legos.
I love it.
All right.
I mean, and how good was that? I mean, and how good was that fight, though? You know what I mean?
It was the best.
It was such a good fight.
Honestly, it's either that fight or Joanna versus Wei. Weili Zhang. Either of those two are the fight of the year for sure. But
no question.
that was definitely the woman fight of the year. That was definitely the male fight of the year. So
sure,
I mean, those guys just annihilated each other. It was incredible. And you guys watched that together at your house, right?
Yeah, I was actually cornering.
Right. But you had the party at your house, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't get me and Marcus lost the invite in the mail.
You guys are always welcome.
Damn USPS. But
the rematch, you guys will be there when we get the belt.
That's awesome.
Okay,
That's what I'm talking about.
That would be great. So, do you think that the deduction was fair? Do you think that point deduction was fair?
More than fair. I think he could have took another point away, to be honest.
For the eye pokes or for the kick in the balls?
For the eye pokes when he's on the ground, he's kind of putting the finger in Brandon's eyes.
That's not even really good technique to get off the ground. Like it was the way he just pied Fade, and maybe just like on the forehead, but the way he just scraped it.
No, it should have been.
A lot of people say it was like desperation at that point. Would you agree with that? Or
I definitely think Figueiredo was taking in some deep waters. I think he was tired, and it was showing. For us, we just have to make those adjustments in the next fight, understand what we can expect, and get that victory. But I truly believe with the full camp and everything that we have going on, some of the adjustments we're making with Brandon's team, I really truly feel this next one.
And I liked how Brandon said that his whole team are Mexicans and that he's really, really so close. I mean, I know my wife is Mexican, and I know the Mexicans are like the Irish. They're about family, they're about loyalty, and he was just such a sweet kid. And you know, and he's got 3 kids and a wife.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that until
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I was like, how old are you? And then it was so funny because we talked about the nut shot, and he said to his wife, don't worry, we've already had 3 kids. It's all good. We're good. I said, Mexicans have got the balls of steel, man, because he just walked away from that.
And especially that could have been a fight ender. And if it was bad enough, I've seen fights get stopped with that, and then it would have been a no contest, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, damn, it definitely was worthy of the point right there.
He was so cool, calm, and collected backstage. He was singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow the whole night.
Who?
Brandon was.
Before the fight?
Before the fight, he was singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And so I was kind of getting into it with him, like,
in English or Spanish?
It's Spanish. I'm like, let's just sing this song together, you know?
Whatever. Whatever.
And then after the fight, I was like, hey, man, like, just curious, like, where'd that song come from? He's like, I was watching 50 First Dates last night.
I love it.
I mean, that just shows you how present he is in the moment. Like, he was just enjoying it. And his team's great. Raul, his head coach, is amazing. Yeah. He had 2 teammates out there, Marcelo and Macio Follin, and those guys were just there the whole time supporting him. They actually stayed a couple weeks at our house before they got the Airbnb, and just to see the camaraderie they have together, it was just really special to see them, just the way they bond and the way they're there for each other. And I'm excited. I'm like calling Mick every day. I'm like, hey, so what's the day of the rematch? When are we doing this? Like,
yes.
So what do you think, April?
Yeah, and why is that?
I think April.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why is Figueiredo pushing so hard for June? And it's like, that's so far away.
I mean, honestly, I feel like this fight really put the flyweight division where it's supposed to be. Now, now we actually have a storyline going.
Yeah. Definitely.
Because there wasn't anything before, right?
Yeah. Now I mean,
they wanted to get rid of that. They wanted to get rid of that division. Like everyone was saying,
just a year ago, they were talking about getting rid of it.
And that's a kudos to the matchmaker, Mick, because they were going to get rid of it. He went and talked to the powers that be and explained his ideas and concept for the division. Mm-hmm. They kept the division around, and I think it's shown that it was the right decision, and so you really have to give credit to the matchmaker for really bringing life to that division and bringing those ninjas in there to.
Yeah, they're doing a much better job of making stars out of that division for sure. Because for a while it was a little bland, and then Henry took over, and then he goes to 35, and it's like, no, like
now we got Lego playing Assassin Babies just running the show.
Oh my god,
playing Assassin. What Legos did we get him for Christmas? We wrapped them up.
There was a Batman one.
It was a Batman and a Star Wars.
Yeah,
and then I actually gave him a autographed photo of David Prowse, which is Darth Vader, who had just passed away 2 weeks previous. Awesome, so I actually had a which we gave him for his birthday. So, and we did that down at Elliott and Co. No, we did at the Garrison. So Elliott and Co. in the Garrison. You're now really known for taking care of all these amazing fighters. How did that get started, and how are you and Jason connected? I mean, obviously through that, but how did that all come about?
Well, the way it came about in regards to me taking care of a lot of fighters was just when I worked at Mandalay Bay, 15 years ago, I started to develop that reputation of doing good work. So at the time, a lot of the fights were held at Mandalay Bay. Mm-hmm. So the fighters were there. The Art of Shaving was there at Mandalay Bay. So those guys would run up.
They're still there, right?
Yeah. Well, it's closed down now, but
of course it is.
But so at the time, those guys would they'd need a quick haircut, so they'd run up to the Art of Shaving, and I took care of one guy who was Eves Edwards, and then I just think just word kind of got out, hey, there's a dude over at the Art of Shaving that take care of you. So I just one after the other. Then I opened up my own place, and those guys kind of followed me over. And then the connection with me and Jason is through Layrite. So I'm one of their global ambassadors, one of their global educators, and one of the old partners who met Jason through, I believe it was Ian McCall.
Oh, awesome.
And
Uncle Creepy,
who rocks the Layrite. And so he just put us together and made the quick intro. And then when Jason would come into Vegas, I would take care of him, take care of his guys.
Yeah. So you moved here now?
Yes.
From California?
Yes.
Have you had a full summer here yet?
Not yet.
Oh God, it's horrible.
You may go back to California.
We had June and August, but July I was in Fight Island for the whole month.
Oh,
so
that's hot there too.
Yeah. But I got to deal with a little bit of the Vegas heat.
Yeah. But June, that's you're in the you're in the den of the in the belly of it, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
You get here in June and you're good,
You
man.
can fry an egg on the road in June, man.
Yeah.
In June.
How long do you live here for?
15 years.
Okay, yeah. I've lived here since I was 3. You never get used to the summer here.
You never
get used to it.
But you know what, man? I lived in Phoenix for a little while, and Phoenix is, man, that's 3 feet from hell, bro.
Yeah. So do you cut these guys' hair at the Garrison or at Elliott and Co?
Wherever is easy.
And how's the Garrison going?
It's doing good.
Killing
It's
it,
doing good.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
nice.
killing it.
Such a good place to go.
His,
to, right?
his hair looks the same every time I see him.
Yeah.
Any interview, anything, he looks perfect.
He's
every
one of those
single
guys that
time.
wakes up and he goes to, you remember in Happy Days when the Fonz used to go to the mirror to do his hair and he'd be like, that's this guy right here.
Jay is for real. I'm gonna tell you, man. Like, there's some guys that there's some dudes that just they want to get cleaned up. Fight week or whatever, you know what I mean? Jay is for real. Like, yo, my shit needs to be dialed in. He'll come. The wife, hey, Elliot, look, the wife sent me these pictures. I don't know what we could do, but if I don't get as close to this as possible, there's gonna be problems. So you know what I mean? He does listen.
No. Well, so obviously, all the boys get their hair cut there.
Yeah.
You've been cutting my hair for maybe 7 years now.
Right.
For a long time. We've been good friends. So Layrite. So we've got a big competition coming up, which the Garrison and Elliott and Co is involved in. We're going to let you know what's happening with that right at the end of the show. Got a couple of people that want to say hello. Travis, a couple of people up there want to say
Money.
good day.
It's been awesome to get to work with you this past year. Hope you guys have a great holidays. You guys have something special going on at Iridium. Super stoked for not only me but my team as well to see what we can do in 2021. Happy holidays, bro.
Hey, Jason, you're the man. We just want to say thank you, and we appreciate everything that you do.
You're the man. The man. Happy holidays.
We love you.
Yeah,
How dope is that?
got them to drop a couple of videos.
Yeah,
yesterday.
Kraus is the man. Yeah, he's probably, I think him and like Coach Mark might be like 2 of my best friends in the sport,
Man.
I'm really lucky to find like-minded people. I think it really helps with,
Yeah,
with the culture
absolutely.
of the group, and we're real blessed.
You get back what you give out.
Yeah.
So you're obviously that kind of person yourself. The whole what goes around comes around. You are what you eat. What you give out, you get back.
Yeah.
I truly believe that because you've obviously got no knuckleheads in your industry, right? With the work for your agency.
Yeah.
No knuckleheads.
No.
Yeah.
All of our guys are good guys, and
Yeah.
I'm really blessed to be representing them and stuff. So.
And Gina with her magic ninja toe kick. old mate still can't get it up.
I'm callous. Gina, it's callous. Is that normal? We'll talk about that later. She did a number on me with the towel.
Yeah, and so normally we were going to get Matt to get punched by every guest that we got coming on, and we did it once, and then he was like,
Yeah, that was my lovely
I don't
idea.
want to do it anymore.
That was my lovely idea.
So let's talk about some current issues at the moment. Let's switch to boxing for a second. Obviously, a couple of weeks ago we had the Mike Tyson fight. I'm sure everybody watched it. It was great to see Mike back there in the ring. It was good to see him. I mean, I would have liked to have seen a knockout, but hey, it is what it is. And now it's jumped onto the line of you got these Logan and Jake Paul calling out some of the biggest names. Well, so I always get these names mixed up. Jake Paul is calling out
Connor and Dylan. Dylan
and
Dennis.
Logan is actually fighting Floyd Mayweather in an exhibition bout. Have you seen the size difference between Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul?
I don't know how they're going to set that.
How's that can you talk about that? Like, what is? I mean, obviously it's good for entertainment. Obviously, there's a big payday involved. But do you think it cheapens the industry?
I'm personally not a fan of it. I mean, I definitely think it will attract eyeballs. I guess it's an exhibition, right? So it's technically not like a real boxing bout.
Right.
But, I mean, I just feel like there's other great matchups boxing could be making right now
Right.
instead of this.
So how do you feel about mixed martial artists crossing over and boxers crossing over? Is it?
I think that's fine. If boxers and mixed martial artists both want to cross-pollinate in each other's industries, I think that's great. Those are real, athletes and pugilists, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was Logan Paul that knocked out
Jake Paul.
Jake.
Paul. So Jake Paul knocked out
Nate
Robinson.
Yeah.
And now he's the one fighting Floyd.
No, his brother is fighting
okay.
Floyd. Jake's calling out Connor and Dylan.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, like you knocked out another. I mean, kudos to Nate for stepping inside
Absolutely.
the ring.
Yeah. But he'd never boxed before.
I think
right?
he still can be considered like an amateur at this point, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to him for
absolutely.
trying.
Right.
But it's like, man, to call out Connor, you're talking.
And so is Jake. Jake's an amateur too.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
Then
just-
if you think about it, if you're gonna call someone out and you're the biggest YouTuber in the world, you're gonna call out the
Yeah.
biggest names,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So even though everybody's like giving this kid a hard time, maybe there's a little bit of scientific brilliance behind it. Hey, if I'm gonna fight someone, I'm gonna call out the biggest name, and maybe we'll get one.
catch a big fish.
I think my concern is just with the commissions and licensing these fights, and it's all fun and games until someone gets really hurt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of wonder, Floyd Mayweather has how many professional fights? How many professional fights does the Paul brothers have?
The red boxing glove right there. He wrote it on there for me. 50 and 0.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like,
So-
who would sanction that? That's crazy.
Exactly.
And then in California, there can't be more than like 40-pound difference.
Yeah.
So they definitely can't do it in California.
I mean,
Like,
but doesn't it cheapen the sport? You know what I mean? Like my kids are amateur boxers. You know what I mean? Like
Your kid is a great amateur
and
boxer.
I'm in a gym with him, almost every week, and I see how hard these kids work. You know what I mean? Like I see the literal blood, sweat, tears that go in to these guys training. And then, a guy who comes along, I get he's got a humongous, massive YouTube following, you know what I mean? But it's just like, he gets to train for a couple years, and because he's big on social media, he gets to jump the crowd and get these big paydays. I mean, I'm not hating on the guy for getting the payday. If you can make your money, man, hey, God bless you, get your bread.
For hitting Dylan Dennis with some wet toilet paper.
And then running.
on a truck.
I think
Dip.
I think when the one Paul brother fought Nate Robinson, I was like, okay, you know what? They're both amateurs. Do their thing. To each their own. But I think when you start kind of crossing into, hey, you're fighting professionals at 40, 50 fights, I think that's where I kind of draw the line. I think if these guys kind of want to, KRS-One, I think was the other one they fought.
Yeah, that was the
KSI.
first one.
When they
KSI.
kind of do those things where they both don't have any fights and it kind of is a spectacle. Okay, do your thing.
Yeah.
But
I
I
think
think
that's-
when you're calling the pros out, that's where it's kind of like, okay, guys, we need to stop this now.
I think the hardcores know that
Yeah.
it's kind of a clown fight, but it brings mainstream eyes onto it. People
Yeah,
that
that's-
normally wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
So that's why
I mean,
it did
but look
so
at
well.
but look at that card. You know what I mean? Like the first fight, I bought the pay-per-view. I wanted to watch Tyson fight.
Absolutely.
And the first fight were two pros, and it was a good fight. But then everything else on the card, you know what I mean,
fell apart.
Right. And so, I watch how hard these kids work. And if you're going to have a promotion, you're gonna have that many eyes. Why not put some young pros that are trying to get some attention, that are trying to get some notoriety? Put some of those guys on a card. You know what I mean? How many? I don't know.
So if someone like Jake or Logan Paul came to you and said, "Hey, I'm interested in you managing me," what would you do that?
I think it just depends on what the path they wanted to take in their career, if they're taking it seriously.
Right.
For me to give my time and energy to a potential client, you're taking time away from my family, so it has to be well worth it. You have to be focused. I'm not saying they're not. I don't know them, so it's really hard for me to judge them. I mean, obviously, like you said, you're going to call out the biggest name, so you can't really blame them in some aspects, right? They're doing what I think anyone would do in those opportunities to try and get the money fight.
Yeah.
So, but I
Yep.
mean, for me, I really, when I was young, I would always chase talent, and then talent will take you places your character's not ready to go to. So now, I really go after high character people. That's where I'm really,
Where does
proud
that
of.
mindset come from, Jason? How do you learn that? Because you're very young, you're still in your 30s. How do you get this such a mature mindset about this business and industry?
I'm very lucky. I was able to play on some very good teams growing up through high school and through college baseball, where my coaches really taught me the importance of culture and camaraderie and just character. Those were really big things for us in our programs growing up. So it kind of just, when I started the agency, you don't really have to reinvent the wheel. An agency is very much like a college program in a lot of aspects.
Right.
You're developing talent. You're developing young men. You're developing them into the careers they want to have.
Yeah.
And so at that point, you just really have to provide a good culture for them to succeed in.
See? When you got coaches and managers that have that you're bound to be successful. Speaking of some of the biggest names in the business, one of our amazing affiliates here at What Happens podcast is Proper 12 Irish Whiskey, and Connor sends me over this whiskey, and I told him that I would toast it and give it with all of my guests. So on behalf of What Happens here and Conor McGregor, this one's for you to take home, my friend.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
one's for you, so you can take that home and crack it on New Year's or Christmas.
Heck yeah. No, I will.
Have you tried that yet?
Yes, I do.
And?
I enjoy it.
You like it?
Yes.
Look how upset is that Elliot didn't get a bottle.
Bro, he sent me a case. What you talking about?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I'm not going to give you that one, then. Oh, man, I'm not going to give that as a surprise. What do you got, Matt? What do you got?
So I know you manage a lot of prospects, not just in UFC, but in other organizations. Do you have somebody that's like on your radar who's going to be maybe the next person called up to the Contender Series next year, maybe the UFC? Is there anyone you want to shout out right now?
Off the top of my head, because I was just talking to him last night, Mo Miller out of Cleveland, Ohio. He's at a strong style gym. I really, truly believe he's going to be one of the next big things.
I love it.
He just had a slam knockout on LFA. He knocked a guy out with a slam. And I went out to watch him train. Me and my wife did. We went out and watched him. He sparred 3 rounds of an amateur boxer, had like 60 amateur fights. For 3 rounds. You watched him in there in a dog fight with him. I'm like, man, this kid has it. Look at him. This is a Monday for him. This is a Monday for him. And, he wrestled collegiately, was very successful in college as well. I just think that he has the mentality and the pedigree for a lot of success. And he's a great human being, great person. We flew him out here. He spent a few days at the house with us, and we love him to death.
So if someone was an asshole, you wouldn't bring him on board, right?
No.
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 It's interesting.
And do you feed the Contender Series people? Like, do they seek you for those kind of people, or do you apply for them? Because I know you'd made a lot of submissions for the Ultimate Fighter.
Yes.
Coming up, do you do the same thing for the Contender
I think
Series?
just with our relationship with Sean and Mick right now, we've built a good rapport with them, and we're always, we're already working on that 2021 class right now, and I just think it's been a proven track record that our guys have delivered, and so as long as you keep delivering, hardworking, good human beings that fight,
Definitely.
they're gonna keep getting the call.
Definitely.
I'm just really lucky. Like I said, the culture is really good, and I think part of it was not many people know this, but my family raised 25 foster children growing up. What? So yes, my dad married my best friend's mom. They're both divorced. Me and my best friend are hanging out all the time. Mom and dad meet through us. They get married.
So then your brothers
were brothers, right? Like it's like stepbrothers. Do we become best friends? Like,
Yes.
like this happens, and they come home one day and they're like, hey, we think we should help others with this. We have these extra bedrooms. We're going to start having foster kids. When you bring people in from all walks of life, you really learn, right? Like that's serving and giving at its finest. One, which management is, right? Serving and giving. One, that's you learn. 2, you learn how to acclimate with the family from all walks of life, which is another thing of an agency, right?
Absolutely.
So my parents taught me a lot of this early on, like, hey, that's your brother. I've never even met this guy, and you're sharing toys and you're playing video games together and you're going to school together and you're looking out for them. So I learned a lot of valuable life lessons growing up because, my family was constantly changing, constantly evolving, much like an agency, right? It's constantly. So I'm very grateful to my parents for this because I really feel like those early lessons have helped me to acclimate. And then when you see people from all walks of life, you understand them, right?
Yeah.
So then all my clients are so different. And Elliot would tell you this. Yeah. The barbershop, I really wish we could do a show where Elliot could just film his conversations with them because sometimes I drive him there and I'll just sit back and then Elliot start asking questions and I'm like, I didn't even know that about my guy. You're learning as you go, right? And it
all goes down to the barbershop.
No, it does. You know what? And the barbershop has become such a good point of fight week for us because it's such good energy, right? I really truly believe how fight week goes really kind of predicts how the fight's going to go. And when you have the opportunity to go outside the hotel, hang out with Elliot, get a haircut, which makes you feel good, right? You look good, you feel good, you play good, right? And so, I'm very blessed, and I feel bad because now whenever guys come and tell me, hey, bro, is Elliot free? Can you get me in?
Right.
I got 1 hour block from 8 to 9 p.m. Can you get me at this time? And I'm like, dude, Elliot, they're knocking on my door for you. So we're
That's
very
awesome.
We're very
That's
blessed.
awesome, man.
No, it's amazing.
Love that so much because when you say early years with the foster, how old were you?
So my dad got remarried when I was 6. We started having foster children when I was 8. All the way,
Do you stay in contact with any of them?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. They hit me up all the time like, bro, Moreno won that fight. That's
awesome.
bull crap. And I'm like, hey, it's all work itself out.
It just comes down. It comes down to part and parcel that, now I'm really learning something here today. I'm learning that business and personal doesn't have to be separated. It doesn't. And as a matter of fact, it shouldn't because it makes things so much more beneficial for business and also for your soul as well.
Have you guys seen that series on Netflix? It's on the coaches, and there's an episode on Doc Rivers. It's amazing, right? And I'm like, watching this episode, I'm like, man, I really like Doc Rivers, my type of dude.
Yeah.
And at the end, he goes, you know what? When I started coaching, they said, don't love them. They're going to let you down. He said, F that. I'm going to love them to death. I'm going to give them all I got. I'm not going to coach them to where they're at. I'm going to coach them to where they should be.
Yeah.
And that resonated with me because sometimes people will say, hey, Jason, once if that guy leaves you, then he leaves me. Right?
Yeah.
My job is to give him my best.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there's going to be wins and losses, right?
Yeah.
The peace comes from the process, not the result. Brandon Moreno has peace at night because he left it all in there, not because of the result, right?
Right.
So if you
100%.
give it your best, no matter what happens, if that person leaves you or they stay for 20 years under your banner, you'll never have a bad night's sleep because you gave it everything you had to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's with anything in life. I mean, same thing.
Anything.
Yeah, that's part of my job as, you know, as an owner of a business. You know what I mean? Part of my job is to develop talent, you know what I mean? Help them get to where they want to get to. You know, it's an inevitable part of my business that people are going to leave. You know what I mean? And
That's
I
true.
do everything.
We talked about this like 2 haircuts ago.
Absolutely. And but my job is to help them become the best versions of who they are.
Okay, hang on a minute.
So it all goes down to the barbershop.
Hang on a minute. Hang on a
For
minute.
real.
It really does. It really does. Honestly, I really wish he would record it.
Okay, so it's funny that you say that. Whoa, hang on a minute. Let me not get emotional right now. Elliot is actually the guy that's sitting across from you. He was the one that actually inspired me to do this podcast. It was about a year ago, and he just said to me, you know, what are you doing, man? You need to be doing this. I believe in you. And then it's funny, a year later, sitting back with you right across from me in the podcast, it's kind of a moment for me right now.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
yeah.
You know what, Mark? I'll tell you what, bro. Like, I'm really, and I tell you this all the time, but I'm really proud of you. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of guys that talk, especially in the barber chair. There's a lot of guys that talk, right?
Yeah.
You know, but we were sitting down. You know, I'm cutting your hair. We're chopping it up, and you know, I remember you were at this place where you didn't really know.
No, I didn't want to be in Thunder Down Under anymore.
Right.
I was no, I didn't because I was in that for 23 years. That was my show. 23 years. I was the host. I was done with the whole.
That stuff will take a piece of you.
Right,
You know,
right.
yeah, for real though.
And Jay, listen, and what's crazy is every time that Marcus would come into the barber chair, we would talk about MMA. And we would talk about all the fights. We would talk about the fighters, and then you know Marcus had this. You know he had this thing with he had this thing with Conor McGregor. He's going to the fights and he's dressing up like Conor. You know what I mean? And he would always when Conor would come into town and I'd take care of the camp and I would take care of Conor. You know what I mean? Did they say anything about me? You know what I mean? And I go yeah. You know they know who you are, and you know what I mean. You know what do they think? You know what I mean? And you know I said. And I would honest, and you know, bro, they think you're cool. They think the Conor thing is, you know, could be a little, you know. But they asked me about it. And I was like, look, Marcus is a good dude. Like he's a nice guy. He's a good guy. He's just a fan. He loves, you know, he something about Conor really resonates in him. You know what I mean? And so, you know,
and Spider-Man.
I think something.
Right. Man, I was just last night. There was one of his fight in Dublin was on, and
oh man,
he's.
It's funny, you know.
that
every time-
Ireland card.
Yeah.
I've never seen
that
anything like that in my
whole
life.
It was
I've never seen anything like that in my life. I was there at that card.
You were there?
really?
Yeah, because Zach and
James
and
was there. I had
Krause
Ian
was there.
McCall. I'm allowed to cuss because that shit was bananas.
Go ahead.
Like honestly, like that was like I remember just thinking like, oh my god, this place was nuts. I remember walking out, and beer spilling everywhere, and they're jamming from the first fight on. Hey, ole, ole. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is something new. We've never seen this before in our sport.
Yeah, that's
And,
right. It
I'd
kind
have done anything to go to that card.
No, well, you know what? It's funny.
And the thing is, we had no idea what we're in for. We
True.
had no idea. Like we literally walked in there clueless, and like 2 fights in, we're like, okay, wow, this
And
is where we're
every
at.
Ireland fighter won that night too.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
wild. 10,000 people sounded like 100,000.
Yeah.
I mean, and
It was
those cats,
crazy.
like they love, like they're so passionate
Yep.
Oh,
about
man.
everything. Like it's just so dope, man.
Yeah.
Irishmen and Mexicanos.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
most
Yes.
hardcore bloodline type people
Can you
ever.
imagine if we do a title fight for Brandon in Mexico?
Oh,
my
my
gosh.
God.
Get out of here.
You gotta
And you
do
know
it.
what? And
You gotta do it, man.
Right. And you know what? And the other night when you were at the Garrison, you were interviewing him, and you were talking about all the Mexican, you know, all the Mexican the fighters and the champions. You know what I mean? But you know, one thing, and I know he did remind you of this, and this is something that I just think it's so freaking cool. If you know, when they fight, the rematch, and he wins, he's going to be the first Mexican-born champion.
Damn.
That is bananas. dude.
Damn.
Right.
And that's overdue.
I freaking love that.
That's overdue.
Yeah.
Because they're
I
such
love
good boxers
Yeah.
in the heart. So we're overdue for a UFC
And we're
Mexican world
overdue
champion.
for a Mexican world champion
Absolutely.
because it's been a long time, and especially in his division, and especially the kind of guy that he is, because that
so
the world
nice.
is just, like I was mentioning to you before when I sent the video of my interview to my mum and my sister. My mum's like, oh, he's lovely. I love that guy. I love him. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, he's fighting on Saturday. She goes, no, I can't watch him fight. I can't. No, I can't see that sweetheart getting
Was
punched
she the
in
one on
face.
the phone running to the TV? was that the one, or was that your sister?
That was my sister.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah, she's
He
a
has
love-
such,
she's a
such a
lovely
good
little-
outlook on life.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Every time I'm around him, like, he thanks me, but I should really be thanking him because I learned so much. He's just so like, I mean, backstage, he was so loose goose. I went to the bathroom 4 times. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm nervous.
It's going through me.
He always teases me because he got cut by the UFC.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
2018.
And so that's when we signed him.
Right.
So his first fight back was in LFA, and it was only him, his brother, and his coach fighting at Casino Morongo out by Palm Springs.
Wow.
And the opponent had like maybe 100, 200 fans there easily. And so I was so nervous, and he always used to joke around with me. He's like, Jason, stop pacing. You're nervous. It's okay. I'm like, man, this is a big fight. You win this fight, you get back in the UFC. And so like this time, he was like, we're joking around if I was how nervous I was gonna be for the title fight. I was like, I'm gonna sit down, not make him think about me at all. But he's so like, like,
Love
hey,
it.
Yeah.
he's just laughing, smiling.
Yeah.
No big deal. Like you would not tell if it was a fight for a free Happy Meal or the fight for the belt. You wouldn't know. Like
A Happy Meal with Batman Legos. That
right?
come with
Like,
it.
Yeah.
If you win,
That's
get the
a way
toy,
big
Brandon.
deal. That's a way big deal.
Maybe you should do that. Wave Legos in front of his face before he goes into the fight.
Is he always that loose? Just
Always.
It's always been that loose.
Always. He stayed with us about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks at the house, and
With his family?
he stayed with the teammate, and then we got an Airbnb for his family. And his family was over at the house quite a bit.
And he's got a new baby,
And,
right? So that must have been fun.
So cute.
Yeah. Mexican babies are beautiful little things, aren't they?
It's adorable. The middle one, Megan, like she loves watching Boss Baby. So we're like joking around, calling her the Boss Baby because she dictated the TV for about 2 weeks. like literally, we ran through like the seasons over and over again. It was like on a replay for her.
Oh,
And she,
blessed. You have kids?
no, not yet.
Is that a dream of yours?
Yes, soon.
Will you let your...
I don't know how soon, but yeah.
Is there a
soon.
scoop?
Are we breaking news?
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Jason House.
Is that why
No.
she's eating pickles and peanut butter sandwiches?
No.
I thought that was normal.
Oh,
You
no.
know what? Moving to Vegas has afforded us a lot more family time because even when life was quote unquote normal, we're 15 weeks a year we're staying here. So now, and if life does go back to normal, I got 15 weeks of home games, a little more time, But right now, we've been, I truly believe you're here on earth to serve and give to others, and so we've been basically helping other people's families, serving and giving to them. And there comes a point, where we'll have our family, and we're excited. I mean, having Brandon's kids over is like the best baby fever you could have, right? I see these little girls running in my house, and
I want a
hanging
little
out.
champ myself.
Look at the wife. Look at the smiles. You guys got look at the smiles.
600 pictures of her. in my
She's got like 600. Well, speaking of giving back, I work with a charity called the Las Vegas Avengers. Coming up very, very shortly, we're going to let you know in about a week or two. We've got a great big event coming up. The Las Vegas Avengers is a charity where we go to cancer children's hospitals. And do we have any of those photos up there? This is me from last weekend.
Man, I'm in. How do we get involved?
Yeah, so absolutely, I would love to talk to you about that.
I would love that.
for sure.
Yeah. So you know what? It's a great charity. This was the day that we were handing out at the toy drive for some of the kids that don't have toys. And as you said, it's about giving back. And believe it or not, this is one of my favorite
awesome.
gigs in the world to do.
You're looking pretty buff there, man.
I
Jeez,
spend a lot of money on my Spider-Man costume.
You're wearing that Spider-Man suit pretty well.
I know. Well,
No, we'd love to get involved. One year for my birthday, my wife took me to a cancer section of a hospital, and it was awesome. We met so many. A lot of them were teenagers.
Yeah,
and it was just an amazing experience. And then what happened was like we wanted to come out the next day, and Cheeto Vera came on his fight week. He's all cutting weight, bro, he was like sucked in, and he's like, bro, I want to go. He came and gave like 3 hours of his time and sat there. And
it's hard. Luckily, I'm in the Spider-Man mask because I'm literally in tears the whole time. Especially when you see a little 9-month-old baby that's hooked up with tubes. But in the end, It brings a smile to their face. It makes them happy, and it's something that I
That's
love.
really cool you do
It's
that.
something that I love to do, probably more than anything, right, Elliot? You've seen me running around doing this stuff for a while.
Me and Kraus were just talking about trying to get involved somewhere in Vegas because we're so new here. We'd love to. Please let us know how we can get
Absolutely.
involved.
Well,
That's awesome
we're
you do
going to
that.
do an event at Founders Coffee.
Okay.
We're not exactly sure when we're going to do it in the next couple of weeks.
Coffee.
We're going to bring Batman. We're going to bring Iron Man, Spider-Man. We're going to bring a couple of princesses down there, and we're going to have a box out the front where you can leave a gift card or a toy.
Heck yeah.
And just to help some people out. You know
Is
what I mean?
Moreno small enough to be Robin?
Oh man. So Elliot, before we bounce, man, I want you to look into that camera right there, and I want you to tell everyone how they can get in contact with you, what they get, and what they can expect when they come to the number
world's
one
best
tailored
haircut.
barbershop.
That's what I said.
The world's best haircut.
You can get the greatest haircut, the greatest shave experience of your life.
Yep.
You just go to Elliot and Co. That's ELLIOTT and Co. on Instagram. The Garrison LV on Instagram. Look us up. All of our contact information is there.
Yep.
We'd love to take care of you. We do the real deal.
And it's not the Garrison and Co. either.
It's
Man, listen, I was nervous.
But guys, you have to like preface it though. If you get a haircut from Elliot, like it's almost like you've seen the light. And after that, everything is kind of like
it's like riding in a private jet, right? It's like riding. You know what I mean? It's like taking a ride in a private jet.
You'll never go coach
Can
again.
I use my analogy? Can I use my analogy?
Yes, please.
I always, when I walk out of Elliot and Co, I'm like, yeah, man. Did I just have Botox? Because I look way better than Botox, man.
It's crazy though. Like Elliot, I've never seen Elliot on an off night. I've always been like, well, he'll spend hours sometimes fixing one of my guys' hairs, like just perfectly, like And I'm like, man, bro, it's 10:30 at night. And he's like, no, we're gonna get this right.
Because I can't sleep, man. Like if a guy, like if I can't let someone get out of the chair. You know what I mean? If it's not right, you know what I mean? And it's my reputation.
And we brought in some real bad haircuts before for him to fix up. Some
really?
real
Some
miracle
mullets?
jobs. Some real. Hey Elliot, please work a miracle here for me.
Figure this one out.
But you know, here's the good thing about it is like honestly, I really love working with Jay's guys. Like all of those dudes, like they're all dude Kraus and my boy Ian Heinisch. I freaking love that guy.
Yeah, they're all great
All
guys.
you guys are so
They're
nice.
all super
And you know,
good
and
dudes.
now-
So cool, down to earth people.
And I'm not saying that they're nice because of you, but now I'm seeing this revolving, positive, nice. Like, look at all these people
Family.
that you're involved with. You know what I mean?
You guys are like a family.
And at the moment right now, guys, your manifestation skills are at its highest peak right now. There's a complete shift and change of energy going on in the world. As you know, the Star of Bethlehem is now visible for the first time in over 800 years. The celestial alignment of the planets Jupiter, Saturn, and the 4 moons are coming into... They're exactly in line. There's a big change. So, guys, anyone out there, all you got to do is manifest your thoughts. Think it, believe it, say it, write it down daily. Say your prayers, drink your water, do the right thing. Everything will work out. Have you had a good time today, Elliot?
Man, this was awesome, bro.
Thank you, man.
This
I really
was
do
awesome.
appreciate you. You're the best around. You're definitely one of the best around. Is there anything you could say on a positive note before we go? If there's someone out there that maybe needs a little bit of a positive word or sentence.
I think piggybacking on what you're saying is thoughts become things. I truly believe that, and you know, every Sunday I always like to write down my what's going to happen this week, and a lot of times it does. Weird.
Yep.
Hey, bro, and thank you for having me on. You know what I mean? Like I really appreciate it. And not just thank you for having me on, but thank you for having me on with this dude, man.
Hell yeah.
I love this guy.
You know,
man.
there's an affiliation going on with you two guys, and I just thought it'd be really, the comfortability would be great. There's a little story there. I think it would be great. For you, thank you so much for coming on, my brother.
No problem. You know I love being
Man,
here.
we got the song in the background here. Got the
we got
the song
going on.
going.
Little Cobra Kai coming out
pumped
soon,
right
season 3.
Let's leave it
Fired
there.
up right now,
Well,
man.
I tell you what, we've had a massive podcast here once again. My name's Marcus Deegan. I'm the host of this show. This is Matthew. He's my co-host. This is my brother from Elliot and Co. And this is hopefully my brand new manager. No, Jason House. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much
Best
for
around,
watching.
baby. Cheers. Cheers, gentlemen.
Found his coffee.
Oh,
Go get
yeah,
some.
that is coming.
All right.
Oh, yeah, good one, boys. Good one, boys. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down.